Hey, welcome back to the channel! I'm Frank. American Eagle Rises. How you guys doing? It's Friday night. Wasn't sure I'd get in a video, but hopefully we make a quick one here. I got a couple other things I need to do before I want to hit the bed. So, let's get a little quick market update. What do you want me to tell you? It looks like, well, the end of the market day. That's my official response. Not much. There was a lot of movement, like volatility, but looks like the dollar kind of lost a little bit of value. And the 10-year treasury looked like it. The yield kind of went up, so I don't know. That's kind of weird, sort of. But the SPY kind of went up. Of course, numbers go up. Looks like a lot of the Bitcoin was kind of Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin was down. A lot of the cryptos looked like it looked like most of them were kind of down for the day, which is kind of odd. Typically, when the market does well, Bitcoin kind of. I don't know, guys. Like you guys, I've told you I don't know how many times. Like the market, yeah. Actually, gold kind of ended up flat. It was actually down quite a bit, so, And silver, it took another kind of, slight hit. Mine, looks like my miners were all over the place. We don't really look, I don't even know if you guys really care about that. I have them, so I'm telling you. Yeah, we're not retiring on them yet. It feels like Star Wars. You guys ever watch Star Wars: A New Hope? And they do the Death Star trench, right? And then the one guy's like, almost there. Almost there. He just keeps saying. Yeah. So I love saying that. Almost there. It's not as bad as like the little kid that's in the back of the car. Are we there yet, Dad? Are we there yet, Dad? Are we there yet, Dad? Oh, man. If my sister and I did that, my dad would have been like, stop the car. Wham! Actually, I'm not sure if my mom would have done it or my dad. So this is probably what, my mom probably would have said, hey, you guys gotta stop doing that. Stop doing that! But we never did it, right? It's kind of one of those, don't make me pull over. That's kind of how Dad was always like, what's funny is, my dad would have never, like, pretty much laid a hand. I think, like, we got the belt one or two times, but it wasn't, like, horrible, but we lived. I mean, obviously I'm here, right? I lived. I didn't die. Now, maybe I got scars in my brain, but, yeah, my dad would be like, or like my mom would always use the threat, wait till your dad gets home. And then Dad comes over and he's like, what? So anyway, do we need to put the glasses on? I don't think so. Whoa, why is this? I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but my computer, it lags. Like just randomly. And what happens is the camera will lag. So sometimes it's slight and then sometimes it's long. But when the camera comes back, when I get the replay, the audio is lagging as well. And it's like, even though the camera looks like it, so hopefully you guys can hear me now. Sorry, the video's longer because of technical difficulties. Alright, so anyway, with that's out of the way. What was the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today, and this kind of goes along, I call it American news, because the world and China, we're all kind of interconnected, so, and this is, I don't want to say a mixed bag. I think this is good, but most people might think this is a mixed bag, so anyway. As much as we want to blame the trade tariff war, which isn't really going on, guys, but this video, and I'll put it in the yeah the description down below. Yeah. It's actually from a pretty good channel. Is this China Observer? Yeah, there's a couple good channels on YouTube. And most of them are actually either like Chinese nationalists, so either they're in China or here, and they either came naturalized or they're on here on I don't know. But they know kind of what's going on over there in China, and they're, if you're here, excuse me, you have a little bit more freedom to kind of post more stuff on China. Now you do gotta be careful because the CCP, they got their little minions. And every once in a while, like some Chinese person will just appear here in the United States. So it's kind of weird. Like, where's our FBI? Right? Like, if someone's going to kill someone here, shouldn't it be our own? I would still not like that either. I'm just, right, it's kind of like, all right, I don't like the FBI. But then the FBI, like, what the FBI or CIA are good at, like, they didn't even, anyway. So you kind of wonder. But, so anyway, this is going into more of the social unrest that's going on in China. And if the tariffs hit, it'll only make it worse. And I have alluded to that, I believe, in some of my other videos. But this one's actually really good because it goes into, there's actually mass strikes going on. There's a whole bunch of, like, people that haven't gotten paid. Like, some of these workers haven't been paid for a year. Can you imagine not having, like, most people can't even survive, like, a week. It's like they live week to week. They're in China, busting their ass. So, a lot of these protests or strikes are like, they're like, well, you're not paying me? Well, I'm not going to work. I mean, it's like, I'm telling you, like, they should have been doing this, like, a year ago. But anyway, so in social aspects in China, it's almost here. The implosion of China is slowly, and right, it's the house that's on fire, and Xi Jinping will be like, oh, hey, everything's fine, everything. Oh no, our house is getting bigger. It's beautiful. You're like, what's that smell? And it's like, oh, it's roses. That's how he's going to be. And what's ironic is, if he wants to be in the position that he is, he almost has to lie to the CCP. But what's ironic is the CCP knows that as well. So I think they're on a short timer, very short timer. So if the tariffs actually are put in place in China, China's toast. Like, it's already toast. This will just make it that much worse. Again, I don't know why our media is focused about here. Like, as much as, like, so far we're complaining about stuff, and it's really you guys tell me. Like, I haven't seen major impacts based on any somewhat tariffs, right? But this, I think, can be a problem not just for China, but it could upset the region. It could destabilize. Like, China is a big country, right? Like, we're their biggest market, right? So we buy most of their component, or most of their, well, they claim whatever, right? But we're a big market to China, right? So if they're not making stuff over there. So even if we want to buy it, right? Like, even if the tariffs aren't a thing, like the stuff we buy from China, it might be more even if the tariffs aren't implemented. No one's talking about that. Of course, right? Because it's not politically driven, right? But getting back to the destabilization, like, China manufactures other stuff for other countries. That no one's talking about that. So if you think tariffs, even if tariffs hit here, And even if we have an increase in price, like the other countries of the world, they can't sustain it either. So, what happens when a country has its balls to the wall on an economic? History doesn't show a good track record. If you look into the history of World War II, yeah, well, the biggest one there was the oil embargo against Japan. So if you guys don't know, you guys should look it up. You should educate yourself. So, because China was, we didn't want, or sorry, not China, Japan was, becoming an empire, if you will, right? So, the United States put in an oil embargo. So, Japan was rapidly modernizing in the early 20th century. So, but they couldn't produce any oil. Or I don't even think they could refine it for that fact. So most of the oil, like literally like 90% of the oil they were buying was from the United States. And the United States finally said, nope, nope. So Japan was under a rock and a hard place because their economy would come to a screeching halt, and any of their military, aspirations, if you will, they would have been limited. So Japan really had no choice. They actually had to attack the United States. And that's why they planned Pearl Harbor. If you also read into a little bit more history of that, so that's one aspect, right? They essentially, that drove a country to go to war, right? And at the time, Germany was already kicking ass in European theater. So there was that. FDR, even though he looked like what do they call him? Isolationist. He actually wanted interventionism, but he knew the United States whole did not want that. Like the people of the United States did not wanted war. They were like, no, we already fought one, we're done. But no. So, FDR, if you want to call it a false flag event, I would call it a false flag event. But anyway, wanted to initiate a fight without making the contact, right? It's almost like you're starting the fight, but you didn't land the first punch. Your enemy, right? And hey, you hit me, now you get to, finish the fight, right? So, Pearl Harbor ended up being worse than what it was because, data and whatnot was kind of delayed. There were some other things, so it was kind of like, all right, now, did FDR think it would have been that bad? That might be debatable. But information was prohibited because they wanted it to happen. Again, I don't think they intended it to be that bad. Now, it could have been even worse. Pearl Harbor, if we didn't get the aircraft carriers out the day before, and if Yamamoto allowed the third wave to go and destroy the oil fields that were actually on Pearl Harbor, yeah, we would have never been able to do anything in Coral Sea or in New Guinea. All that would have never happened. And the United States it would be debatable if we would have even had a Midway. So that would have been, but we didn't. And guess what? We survived that one as the good. Anyway, that's just to go on to say, I hope this doesn't happen, right? Like, I don't want an economic thing. And then if Xi Jinping wants to look like a big tough guy, but he's screwed. Like, even if he wants to go militarily, it will not go well for him. Not much, right? Because if people internally are falling down, I'm pretty sure half his military is going to be like, no, I'm done, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure you're going to find some crazy general or a few crazy generals in there, but it'll be short-lived. And then, once they get too many casualties, and if the citizens aren't behind it, then it won't really matter. And you can't sustain a war that long, right? So, and then it's like even if China wanted to use its military, what is it going to attack of economic value? I don't know, right? They always wanted Taiwan, but even if they secure, let's say they win Taiwan and they secure it, it's not going to help them from an economic standpoint. So they're kind of toast. Unless they want the world to burn, and that's where I would have a problem. But you guys not also aware, this might be kind of added to it. And we may get a little long in the tooth here, video-wise. Yeah, we're about 15 minutes, so we're pretty close to wrapping up. But adding on to that as well, I don't know if you guys are aware. It's kind of in the background. It's kind of funny. It could be a nothing burger. These border disputes between India and Pakistan they've been at war with each other, I think, 7 different times, and ever since, 1947? Yeah, because India became a republic in 1947. And if you guys don't know, it was actually partitioned. So there was actually what was called Pakistan and East Pakistan, but that ended up turning into Bangladesh. But they were actually those were actually two separate regions, but they were one country. But I'm trying to remember what war, I'm trying to remember what happened. But the Indians were able to liberate the Bangladeshi, and so they become Bangladesh. Although religiously, I think they're more Islamic, but they don't get along with the Pakistani Muslims. I know, crazy, right? All you have to say is the Indian subcontinent, and you're just like, oh, you think there's 3 countries? No, India itself is 20 different countries within itself. So it's kind of, and there's a whole bunch of languages. But anyway, what was it? I think it was last week or the week before. And you guys should look into this, because this has always been a problem. It's actually been one of the, I call it one of my bingo charts, because we all need water, right? It's kind of obvious, right? But what you don't know is there's 3 major rivers in that region, right? You got the Indus, the Ganges, and I can't remember the other one. And they're basically the cradle of that civilization, of that region, of that world. But they're kind of holy. And I believe, I know at least 2 of them, but maybe all 3, they all kind of wind up all the way up into the Himalayan mountain ranges. So the one region there is, I think, Kashmir. And you got a little bit of area of contesting area there, but there's Pakistani, you got Indian, and there's actually some areas where there's Chinese influence anyway, but they all originate, and India has a dam, and recently they turned the dam off, and this dam is upstream in India, but the river goes through Pakistan, right? So most of Pakistan is like a desert, or very arid. So they need that water, obviously, for drinking purposes, right? But for they don't grow a lot of crops, but they need that, right? India's kind of well secured from a agriculture standpoint. They don't necessarily have to import. Actually, Pakistan does buy a lot of agricultural products from India. Actually, if you guys don't know, China actually buys considerable agriculture from the United States and India. So in a war situation, if we actually became a strategic ally of India and we actually got our shit together, yeah, China would not last long. But anyway, they turned off the water, and Pakistan has gone on record in the past saying, oh, well, if you turn off the water, we'll consider that an act of war. Now, it's all been saber rattling up until that, and then they turned it back on, but then all of a sudden it was flooding, so it was I don't know. If you ask me, India might be trying to poke the bear to get Pakistan to do something, but then in the same breath, there's actually reasons why India has to stop the water it's been an issue for the last, I don't know, I think like 10, 15 years. But when countries don't have resources, it's like, all right, well, we got this army, right? And if you guys don't know, both India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons. They're not the biggest nuclear arsenals. They're not the biggest range. But India has over 1 billion people, and Pakistan, right? And Pakistan is Islamic. Most of India is Hindu, and they got bad mojo between each other for forever, literally forever. It's been a problem for thousands of years, to be honest with you. So this shit ain't gonna get solved anytime soon. But they did have some border skirmishes, and I don't know, right? But Pakistan really hasn't put they haven't really responded in a war manner, and India hasn't, I think India's just like, well, we're not going to poke the bear. I mean, go into their territory type of poke the bear, right? They'll keep doing things that are not necessarily militarily, right? So, I don't know, guys, right? Like that, if I'd be worried about something, that might be a little bit more troublesome. And I only say that because, and again, it might be a nothing burger, right? I just know the news media loves, like, whatever's not being really discussed is what we should be looking at, right? And they use something to distract us all the time, like all the time. If you don't know anything about 9/11, there was all this money in one of those damn buildings or something, right? And it was supposed to happen on 9/12. So call me conspiratorial, right? Like, oh, you just happened to take both the towers down and that one building that didn't get hit. It just miraculously went right down like a controlled demo, but we won't talk about that building apparently, but right? So it's one of those things that's like, all right, is this a distraction? Is this just news here? I don't know. Right? So anyway, that's all I got for you folks. We're at 22. Oh, we were like at 222 or 2222. One of those synchronicities. You guys into big of that? There's this channel that I watch. I kind of like it for entertainment purposes, but I don't want to say I believe it like 100%, but I think there's something there. There's a video. There's a channel. Let me get his actual. What's it called again? Sorry, I had it. Oh, come on. Why does this happen every single time? Oh, okay, here we go. It's David Wilcock. And if you guys don't know him, he was actually on the History Channel on Ancient Aliens. But he has a live stream every Sunday, and it normally starts around 2 p.m. But it's not for the faint of heart, right? But there's a little bit of woo-woo, like a little, we'll call it the Ancient Aliens thing. There's some good stuff in there. So if anything, it's very entertaining. He does go a little bit into the 17th letter, if you guys know what that is. If you don't know, get the alphabet, right, and go to the 17th letter. It's got like a circle, and then it's got a little line here. So there's some of that. Again, I don't know. How about this? There's too much data to say there's nothing there, right? There's not enough information to say, is it 100% accurate? So it's a mixed bag, like everything in life. So anyway, with that said, guys, is there anything else? Not right now. So we're at 24 minutes, less than 25. Yay! Maybe we can get this down to 20. All right, so hopefully you guys have a good day. I will see you tomorrow. And we finally see the stop button, so now I can wave and say goodbye.